Welcome to the deep dive. Let's jump right in. Do you ever catch yourself agreeing to something even when you really, really want to say no?
Or maybe find you're the one everyone turns to, always saying yes, even when your plate is totally full.
Yeah, completely swamped. If any of that rings a bell, then we're definitely on the same page today. We're doing a deep dive into people-pleasing.
People pleasing. It's such a common thing, isn't it? That feeling you have to put others first to, gain approval.
Exactly. But it's more than just, like, being nice or helpful.
Right. It's when it becomes a real pattern, a consistent habit of prioritizing everyone else, often, to your own detriment.
And it's fueled, fundamentally, by this need for external validation.
That's the core of it, that feeling that your worth is tied to what others think.
And you see it in difficulty saying no, or maybe apologizing for things that aren't your fault.
Or overcommitting constantly, ending up totally drained. And that underlying fear of conflict or just, upsetting someone.
Beatrice Victoria Albina put it so well. She said, when we are focusing on pleasing other people, the irony is in that moment, we're usually not actually pleasing ourselves.
That really hits home, that disconnect between what you're doing and what you actually want or need.
So that's our mission today. We want to really get under the skin of this, explore the roots, understand the costs.
And importantly, look at ways to move beyond it. Find a healthier path.
Yeah, think of this as like your quick but thorough guide to understanding people-pleasing, aiming for those aha moments.
Okay, so where does this usually start? The roots. It's fascinating how often it traces back to our early experiences.
Childhood, right? It often starts as a kind of survival mechanism.
Exactly. Imagine a kid who learns that love or acceptance feels conditional. Like they only get positive attention when they're compliant or meet certain expectations.
So they learn, maybe unconsciously, to put others' needs first, just to feel okay, to feel safe and loved.
It becomes this default way of being in relationships. And sometimes, as Beatrice Victoria Albina also mentioned, it's linked to trauma.
A trauma response. How so?
Well, it's like an adaptive behavior that helps someone cope or feel safe in a difficult situation back then. But it gets stuck.
So it becomes this automatic reaction later in life, even when the original danger or situation is gone.
Precisely. She talks about that deep mammalian need to feel safe by keeping other people happy with us. Our brains literally link getting that approval with survival.
Wow, that shows how deep it can run. It's not just a simple habit then.
Not at all. And tied into that is often a really strong fear of rejection.
That anxiety about being left out or abandoned, it can be overwhelming.
Hugely. It can make people sacrifice their own wants and needs again and again just to keep those connections, to avoid rocking the boat.
Like always going along with the crowd,
Yeah.
even if you secretly hate the plan.
Exactly that. And often, this fear of rejection is tangled up with low self-esteem.
That core belief that maybe you're not inherently good enough.
Yeah, that you need to constantly do things for people, be useful, to be liked or cared about.
Some of the research mentioned that people pleasers might think, deep down, people will only like you if you are useful to them.
It's a really damaging internal script and hard to challenge.
And then society kind of reinforces it sometimes, doesn't it?
Oh, definitely. Cultural factors play a role, especially perhaps for women or in more collectivist cultures where group harmony is really emphasized.
You get messages early on that being compliant, pleasing others, that equals being good.
Those messages sink in deep. And you see it play out later, too, like in the workplace.
Right. Sometimes the person who takes on everything never complains. They get praised for being a team player.
Even if they're burning themselves out, the environment can accidentally reward the very behavior that's harmful.
And what about social media? Does that play a part?
That's a newer factor, but yeah, think about the instant validation, the likes, the comments. It can really intensify that link between fitting in, accommodating, and feeling accepted.
Especially maybe for younger people figuring out their identity online.
Definitely seems plausible. Okay, so we've touched on the roots. What about the impact? The emotional cost of always saying yes.
It just sounds exhausting, honestly.
It really, really is. Burnout is a major one. We're talking physical, emotional, and mental exhaustion.
Caused by that constant stress of trying to anticipate and meet everyone else's needs.
Exactly. You're always on, always vigilant. It's like running a marathon with no finish line.
Lois Melkonian made that connection really clear, didn't she? Saying people-pleasing and burnout are inextricably tied together.
Yes, and she pointed out that society sometimes sees people-pleasing as a virtuous quality, which makes it even harder to stop.
Because you feel like you should be doing it. But underneath that helpful exterior,
Hmm.
resentment can start building, right?
Oh, absolutely. That simmering frustration when you keep putting yourself last, it creates this huge gap between how you act and how you genuinely feel, like a pressure cooker, as you said earlier.
Yeah, and constantly pushing down your own feelings.
Yeah.
What does that do?
That's emotional suppression. You habitually ignore what you feel to keep the peace or please others. And over time, you can lose touch with your own internal compass.
Making it hard to even know what you want or need anymore.
Precisely. It leads to emotional exhaustion, like one source said, and that resentment just keeps growing.
And the longer-term mental health effects, they sound pretty serious.
They can be. When your self-worth is so tied to external approval, any hint of rejection can feel devastating. It can really fuel anxiety, depression.
Maybe even confusion about who you actually are.
Yes, identity confusion. Debbie Sorensen noted that people pleasers are often genuinely kind people, which makes it even harder for them to set boundaries.
So their kindness almost becomes a vulnerability, makes them take on too much.
Exactly. That lack of boundaries is a key issue. And looking at the summary from our sources, the long-term picture isn't great.
Like what specifically?
Chronic stress, anxiety, burnout, low self-esteem, insecurity, depression, losing your sense of self. Resentment, damaging relationships, being more easily manipulated, neglecting your own self-care, which can even lead to physical health problems.
It's a heavy price to pay for trying to keep everyone happy.
It truly is. And yet society sometimes rewards it, at least in the short term.
How so? Like the immediate gratification.
Yeah, you say yes to helping out and you get that instant appreciation. You're seen as the reliable one, the good friend, the team player.
That positive feedback makes it tempting to keep doing it.
It reinforces the behavior, definitely, even if it's not sustainable.
And we should probably circle back to the gender aspect here, too.
Yes, the social expectations can be different. Women might face more negative judgment, more penalties for prioritizing their own needs compared to men.
Which creates an extra barrier if they're trying to break free from these patterns.
Absolutely. And again, things like social media can amplify this. Those likes feel like proof that accommodating others works, that it leads to belonging.
Okay, so if someone listening is thinking, uh-oh, this sounds like me, what can they actually do? Where do you start?
Well, the classic first step, like with so many things, is awareness. Just recognizing the pattern in yourself.
Noticing when you do it, maybe why you do it,
Yeah.
but without beating yourself up about it.
Exactly. No judgment. Just noticing. That creates a tiny bit of space between the urge to please and your actual response. A moment to choose differently.
And then boundaries. That seems like the big one.
Huge. Natalie Liu talks about reclaiming boundaries to say yes to the life you actually want.
Okay, but what does that look like practically if you're used to always saying yes?
It starts with figuring out your own limits. What do you realistically have the time and energy for?
Being honest with yourself about that.
Yes. Then learning to communicate those limits clearly, respectfully, but clearly. Using I statements can help. I can't take that on right now. Feels different than a blunt no.
And the hard part, sticking to it, even when it feels awkward.
That's the key. Maintaining the boundary even with the discomfort. Sometimes people use the broken record technique, just calmly repeating your limit without getting defensive.
That discomfort sounds like a big hurdle, though. It goes against the grain.
It really does, which is why self-compassion is so crucial.
Being kinder to yourself through the process.
Exactly. People pleasers are often experts at being kind to others, but terrible at directing it inwards. Learning to treat yourself with that same understanding.
Acknowledging your needs matter too.
Yes. It helps break that cycle of self-criticism and makes it feel safer to prioritize your well-being. Like, talk to yourself as you'd talk to a good friend.
And it's probably not about flipping a switch overnight, is it?
Definitely not. It's about small steps. Practicing small no's is a great way to start.
In situations that aren't like super high stakes.
Right. Low-stakes situations. Maybe declining a small request or offering a compromise instead of a full yes.
Like the example of pet sitting offering one afternoon instead of the whole weekend.
Exactly. Each small no that doesn't result in catastrophe helps build confidence. It disproves those fears that setting a boundary means automatic rejection. You build your no muscle.
And realizing you're not the only one struggling with this must help too.
Oh, massively. Seeking support is really important. Therapy, support groups, even just honest conversations with trusted friends or family.
Getting that validation, maybe some guidance.
Yeah.
Especially if there are deeper issues driving it.
Absolutely. Connection and support make a huge difference.
You know, this whole discussion makes me think about authenticity. That Marion Milner quote you found really resonated.
Which one was that?
For what is really easy, as I found, is to blind one's eyes to what one really likes, to drift into accepting one's wants ready-made from other people.
Ah, yes, and to evade the continual day-to-day sifting of values. It perfectly captures how people-pleasing can make us lose touch with ourselves.
We stop doing that essential work of figuring out what we truly value and want.
It relates to some philosophical ideas, too, like the Stoics.
How so?
Well, they'd argue that seeking your worth and happiness from external approval puts your well-being entirely outside your control.
Because you can't control what others think or do.
Exactly. Their focus was on what you can control, your own responses, your values, your boundaries. From their perspective, people-pleasing actually weakens you.
That's a powerful reframe. And wasn't there an existentialist angle, too?
Yeah, Sartre's idea of bad faith, it's like denying your own freedom by just living according to others' expectations.
So if you're constantly trying to be what you think others want, you're avoiding the responsibility of defining yourself.
Pretty much. You're not embracing your freedom to make authentic choices, you're letting others dictate who you are.
So as we wrap this up, what's the main takeaway? What should people aim for?
I think it's crucial to reframe the goal. Moving beyond people-pleasing isn't about becoming selfish. Not at all.
It's more about finding balance.
Yes, a healthy balance.
Yeah.
Recognizing that true generosity actually comes from a place of feeling whole and having energy to give, not from obligation or fear.
And healthy relationships need that mutual respect for boundaries, right?
Absolutely. They thrive on it. It's about reclaiming your own voice, allowing yourself to be authentic.
Even if it feels a bit strange or uncomfortable at first.
Especially then. It takes practice.
Mm.
But just exploring these ideas, like you are, by listening to this deep dive, that's a huge step towards that authenticity.
So maybe a final thought for everyone listening.
Okay. The next time you feel that automatic pull to say yes, when something inside is whispering no, just pause.
Take a breath.
Yeah. And ask yourself, who am I really trying to please right now? And what's the potential cost to my own energy, my own well-being?
Because in that pause
Lies the power to choose differently, to make a more authentic choice for yourself.
Thank you for joining us for this deep dive.
Yeah, really diving into this understanding people-pleasing, it's hopefully the first step towards a more balanced and, well, authentic life for you.
We definitely encourage you to sit with some of these ideas, see how they resonate with your own life.
Maybe think about those situations where that people-pleasing urge pops up, or perhaps look into some resources on boundary setting. It's all part of the journey.
Until our next deep dive, keep exploring.
Thanks for tuning into The Introspective. We hope this episode gave you something to think about, or maybe even helped you feel a little less alone. We would love to hear your thoughts. What resonated with you? What topics should we explore next? Drop us a comment, send a message, or just reflect quietly, whatever suits your style. And if you found this episode meaningful, consider subscribing and sharing it with someone who might need it. Until next time, stay curious, stay kind, and keep going inward. You have been listening to The Introspective.